Welcome to Exposed Turnbuckle. This is the Mac Attack, Jeff McMahon, and this is Battle of the Brands. We're going to go right into it and start with Raw. Monday night, I watched it live, and I wasn't really into it. I gave it a 6 initially, ended up rewatching it on my DVR just to kind of be focused a little bit more, because I will be honest, on Monday night, I wasn't really too focused in on the entire show, so I watched it again on DVR, and I dropped the rating. Gave it a 5, and honestly, I might be keeping it a little high, but the show didn't do much, and I agree with Patrick in his review, which you can check out on Exposed Turnbuckle. And he was talking about all the lengthy promos, and there was a lot. There was so many, and it was 3 hours of just talking, really. There was a few matches in between, but honestly, I remember the dumpster match, and that's pretty much it. Obviously, that spot off the stage was the big highlight of Raw, but other than that, the matches were 2.5 star or below. It just was not good. And this is the go-home show to their pay-per-view, and understandably, the pay-per-view doesn't have the main title of Raw being defended because Brock Lesnar is a part-timer. Um, but it just didn't do anything. Like, I didn't think it pushed that many feuds further. Like, didn't make me more excited about the pay-per-view, and I think that's how go-home shows should be. I should be turning off the TV like, oh, I can't wait for this pay-per-view on Sunday. Um, this did nothing for me. It's like, oh, payback's coming. Okay, that was it. Like, Braun Strowman was the heavy star again. Again, no Roman Reigns, so they're saving him for the pay-per-view. So we'll see what that reaction's like. But the crowd wasn't into it. I wasn't into it. The Miz did a really good job tonight, or on Monday night, I should say. Promos were really good. He really works the crowd, and I know Patrick mentioned that as well. He does a very good job as a heel. He's the best heel in the company, in my opinion. Chris Jericho, he doesn't. He's on his way out, as we all know, but what a run he's had, and he still has the way to kind of keep the crowd with him, and he does a good job. And Ambrose didn't do too bad in the promo. It just dragged, and it went to a pretty obvious tag match, which happened in the main event. Um, and basically, a lot of filler for the next 2.5 hours. And then the main event had The Miz coming out with a mystery partner, and then nobody came out, ended up being a handicap match, which is very weird, by the way, to have a handicap match with two faces against a heel. It doesn't make any sense to me, and I get that they were waiting, and Bray Wyatt ended up being the surprise partner to push him as a megastar going into that House of Horrors match, which still no explanation, and I'm not convinced the writers even know what the match is yet, and that's judging by the poll that they sent out to fans like 2 weeks ago. Uh, I get that that's why, but still having a handicap match where the heel's the one doesn't make any sense. That's supposed to be a spot where the fans can get behind the underdog, and uh, they've done it a few times lately, and it's stupid. Anyway, Raw didn't really do it for me. Go home show, like I said, didn't really get me excited. I gave it a 5. It was just It was a very big step back from the Raws of the last couple weeks. Moving on to tonight's Smackdown. Last week I was pretty hard on Smackdown. I gave him a 3.5, I believe. It wasn't good. I'm trying to get behind Jinder Mahal, like get behind the idea at least. Um, I I don't mind making new stars, but I just don't like him. Like, I don't think he's good. Uh, Tonight he wasn't terrible. I'll admit it. Like, he was all right. So maybe there is a little bit of something there. And hopefully they kind of keep the momentum. SmackDown did a much better job this week. Uh, I gave the show a 6.5. Going into it, it started out with Nakamura coming out, and before he could say a word in his interview, Dolph Ziggler interrupted, starting that feud that I spoke about in my video Friday of the rumors and behind the curtain. But they did a back and forth. Ziggler kind of fell flat, and part of it was the promo just wasn't that great, and part of it was this crowd was terrible tonight. I barely heard them all night long, and it was basically like watching the show on mute. Uh, it was just bad. When Randy Orton came out, Nakamura, that was the only time they made noise was in the theme song. Nakamura doing a promo, and obviously he doesn't speak great English, uh, and with a mouth guard in his mouth, that doesn't really help. Um, Basically, all he did was speak Japanese and then called Dolph Ziggler a jackass, which led to Ziggler kicking him, and then Nakamura countering another kick to a suplex, and then Dolph Ziggler escaping before getting the Kinshasa. This is obviously leading to a match at Backlash. Um, I don't expect to see Nakamura in a match until Backlash, but these two should put on a pretty good match. They're both really good workers. Their promo work, at least to start, leaves something to be desired. So hopefully they step up there. But it was a fairly slow start with the promo, but we'll see how that works out. Um, the next thing was AJ Styles and Baron Corbin in another match. Kevin Owens at ringside. Kevin Owens basically tried to interfere. AJ Styles kicked him, ended up rolling up Baron Corbin for the win. And then Owens did what he was supposed to do last week and came in and attacked AJ Styles. Baron Corbin came in, kind of pushed Owens away and started attacking Styles. They looked at each other and then realized they could both just beat up AJ Styles. So there's a 2-on-1, and then Sami Zayn's music hits, comes down to the ring. Owens escapes the ring and then goes after Corbin, ends up hitting the haluva kick, and saves AJ Styles a little bit from more of a beating. So this kind of leads to, obviously, building up that Styles Owens match, Styles Owens match for Backlash, and obviously gonna be Corbin versus Zayn, which is good for Corbin until he gets put into the main event picture. But Corbin and Zayn will happen. Corbin should get that win. Owens should retain against Styles too, but that's in a few weeks. But this segment wasn't bad. The match was pretty good. Honestly, the match was probably better than anything Raw had lately. And actually, going back to Raw for a second, they did have a 6-man tag where they, for Rollins, Enzo and Cass, and Anderson Gallows, and Samoa Joe. They took out Enzo right at the beginning, basically entering in Finn Balor so he has something to do. That was the other big kind of appearance for Raw, and it really didn't do a whole lot. Nobody missed Enzo because Finn Balor was there, so that match wasn't bad, but this match was better than any match on Raw, in my opinion. Did a good job, and like I said, Owens finally did what he probably should have done to end SmackDown last week. Didn't really make sense how SmackDown ended last week. This is what Owens should do. Should be attacking guys left and right. Basically like it's WWE 2K17, you're hitting the breakout button all the time. That's Owens' character. So I liked it. Should be 2 pretty good matches for Backlash there. Then they're doing a tag team beat the clock challenge to be determine the number 1 contender. First up was a rematch of American Alpha and the Clones, and I actually tweeted it. The Clones basically been repackaged so many times I can't even keep track anymore. So now they are the Clones, and I think they're staying, but then the match happened. And as much as I was confused by American Alpha losing last week and thinking that, oh, that's a burial, American Alpha got their win back in 5 minutes and 17 seconds. So the next match had to beat that time, or American Alpha was the number 1 contender. I was critical last week and saying with having the Clones beat American Alpha and burying them. I'm actually gonna go back on that. Now I'm a little critical of this decision, because if you're gonna have the Clones beat American Alpha, why not have them just beat them here, or have them face a different team? Honestly, I don't know why they're facing each other, but I guess you could say because the Usos are the champs and they're heels, you want to kind of tease the fact that a face is going to win the Beat the Clock challenge. I guess that's the thought process. I honestly think the Colognes probably should have faced someone else because I don't think they should be losing in 5 minutes after trying to build them up. I think that kind of hurts their credibility a little bit, but they'll try to make us forget about it next week, I'm sure. It wasn't a bad match. It wasn't anything special. I would say it was like a 2-star match, basically what Raw had all night long. Then later on, you had the other tag team match with Breezango and the Ascension, which are two teams that are forgotten. Breezango ended up winning in 2 minutes and I want to say 30 seconds, and they are the new #1 contenders against the Usos. I'm happy about it because I think both these guys can do really well, and they just haven't really been given some time to really push the characters and show what they can do. Both are pretty decent in the ring, so I'm glad that these guys get at least a shot to showcase what they have. So we'll see if I don't know if they'll win. I think the Usos will still retain, but I'm glad they're at least getting a shot and getting the recognition there. In the middle there, actually, I skipped over a segment, was the Randy Orton versus Eric Rowan no disqualification match. To me, this was the match of the night. They did a lot of spots, table on the outside with a kendo stick, Eric Rowan falling through the table. There's the stairs coming into play, the chair spot at the end with Orton hitting the RKO. It was a really good match. Eric Rowan actually really held his own, and I thought they told a pretty good story there with Eric Rowan trying to take out Randy Orton before House of Horrors. Ultimately, it led to Randy Orton winning, getting the mic and talking about the House of Horrors match before Jinder Mahal came out, and he cut a promo about taking the WWE title and went to attack Orton. Orton came back and countered, and then the Bollywood Boys came out and led a 3-on-1 attack before Jinder Mahal hit his finisher, which is like a full Nelson turned into a rock bottom type move. It looks like they're really pushing that move. And it's actually nice to see a faction again, like a real faction. Wyatts were the faction, but they really weren't used all that well, in my opinion. And hopefully they kind of use this faction as a way to get Jinder Mahal over a little bit as a heel. Use those heel tactics. Ultimately, he took the big story was he took the WWE title from Randy Orton, left with it in the limousine, and left the arena. I don't know if this was a spot that they wanted to do to make the title seem more important, or if it's a spot they wanted to do where they could kind of tell a story that the House of Horrors match is not for the WWE title because Randy Orton no longer is carrying the WWE title, which would be kind of a little lame thing, but I don't know. It's WWE. They could do really anything at this point, and wouldn't surprise me. But right now, Mahal is carrying the WWE title, and he did a pretty good job on the promo. He got a lot of boos. This was actually some noise that was made. So he's getting over as a heel, and I don't know if it's because of the promo work or if they're just booing him because they don't like the fact that he's in the spot he's in. Either way, he's getting a reaction, and this is what I talk about with Roman Reigns. That's a good thing. So I got to give him credit on that. It might be a little bit till I really get behind the idea, just because every time I see him, I keep thinking that he was getting squashed 2 weeks ago. So it's still a little weird for me to see, but if he keeps doing well, then maybe I'll get behind it. But as of right now, it's still a little weird. So we'll see how the build-up is going into Backlash. But it was a pretty good segment. There was a segment with the Mean Girls, as I'm calling them, Natalia, Ellsworth, Carmella, and Tamina, all 4 girls there. And they basically are just talking to Becky Lynch, trying to recruit her to take out Charlotte because they don't think Charlotte's deserving of a title chance. And this does lead into the Women's Championship match. And it was a pretty good match till the Mean Girls interfered and took out both Naomi and Charlotte. And that's how Smackdown ended. I thought it was a really good show. A lot more memorable parts for me. And obviously they have a lot more time to go to Backlash, so it's not a go-home show. But this week, SmackDown wins pretty easily, in my opinion. It was a show that I was much more entertained by. And so now we had last week Raw winning pretty handily. this week. SmackDown winning pretty handily, in my opinion. So we're neck and neck. SmackDown did a lot to push new stars, and as I've always wanted to push new stars, and I promise I'm working on getting behind Jinder. Raw really needs to do a lot to pick it up. It was a step back. Hopefully they go back on the right foot. They need wrestling, because there really wasn't much, and it was pretty disappointing. And I don't remember half the promos a couple days later, so that's not good. I feel like I'll remember a couple moments from SmackDown in a couple days. Either way, the shows weren't fantastic by any means, but SmackDown definitely improved from last week, while Raw took a step back. So SmackDown wins week 2 of Battle of the Brands. As always, like this video, comment on this video, tell me who you think won, what you thought of both shows. Subscribe to the channel, check out Patrick's Raw review, check out his SmackDown live review, and also coming up this week is his Hot Spots and Total Flops video, as well as my news, behind the curtain, and rumors on Friday. So as always, this is the Mac Attack. See ya.